Hey there, it's Sophie here to talk about why should we learn about node-based data structures. One of the biggest criticisms that I hear about data structures and algorithms is, well, what's the point, right? It is nothing like day-to-day engineering, and people say that for whatever reason, companies are still testing for these data structures and algorithms in interviews, so they are just kind of begrudgingly grinding LeetCode and trying to cram to pass that interview. And I kind of find that energy a little bit demoralizing. And so I wanted to make this video to explain that there might be a point to studying these data structures and algorithms, and specifically these node-based data structures. And I hope that it makes studying this material feel more purposeful and therefore maybe fun. And so to get started, right, in a production code base that is, some kind of product, there are all kinds of objects, right, that mean all kinds of things. You might have a profile object and it has all these properties: names, email, bio, and there's links to other profile objects, right? And maybe these are your friends. And in a real product, these object models are really super complex, and you have to spend a lot of time dealing with the overhead of learning how the product works before you get to actually practice coding, if you're only practicing coding in a real production environment. And there's this video that I have out there called "Algorithms Are Like Squats," and the idea is that athletes that are playing some kind of sport probably aren't out there in the field just doing squats all day, right? Yet in the gym, they may actually do squats to strengthen a specific muscle in isolation, and it's just a much more efficient way to target a specific muscle. And for that athlete, it's probably not efficient actually to only exercise by going out into the field every day, because there's just so much overhead, right? And you aren't often working specific muscles as hard when you're doing that. But it is useful to do that because it trains you to respond to real world scenarios in that sport. And this is very similar to coding and engineering, where you definitely want to do some amount, and probably primarily practice with real world engineering, building real products. But you might also want to exercise coding in a much more focused and targeted manner. And nodes are really the most kind of what nodes do is they strip away all of the complexity that come with building a product, right? So instead of having a complex data model with complex user flows that you're trying to support with profile objects, etc., you get to focus on just the node data structure and practice manipulating logic in a very focused way. And linked lists are really the most simple version of a node-based data structure. It has just one data field, typically, just oftentimes a number, right? And it just has one edge or link to the next node in the list. But traversing through a linked list with just one pointer to another node is very different from traversing through a node with multiple pointers to next nodes. And so once you've kind of mastered the linked list data structure, you will level up and learn how to deal with nodes with multiple edges. And these are, in the form of trees and graphs. And by the way, analogy I like to make all the time is the web DOM, right? It is one of the most basic data structures and common ones that you will interact with as an engineer on any web-based product. And if you struggle with traversing through a binary tree, then you are going to have trouble scraping through a DOM, which is an activity that you will likely have to do as a web engineer. And so as you go through kind of these next few sections, keep this purpose in mind, and I hope it gives you just a bit of motivation to kind of go really deep and master these topics and techniques rather than seeing these as just kind of a pointless exercise to get past the interview. And I wish you the best of luck.